Alafia, greetings and hotep. You are with Omi Inca's production studio, coming from the Oracle Divination Network. I am your host for this afternoon, and the topic is the affirmation, I am concept can change your life. You are in for an opportunity to make some changes in your life today. I like to speak to you from my specialty of being a motivational speaker. And a lot of you probably don't know where I get my zeal from or wondering, am I speaking specifically into your life? But I am a motivational speaker, and I've learned to, over the years, to encourage myself. Just as my family members had taught me about affirmations and how to speak things as though they were and to speak them into existence by using affirmation. And I want to talk to you today about the I am concept. The I am concept is not a new concept for many of you who might practice affirmations, to many of you who understand that you must have an affirmation if you are going to change your life. Now, I don't know if you can see me in that viewpoint, but I'm going to try to see if I can speak from back here. And it's a little dark, I see. But next to being impossible, nothing is too hard for God, and nothing is impossible for Him. And we must remember that we are God. He resides in our being. There is no God in the sky that we're waiting for. And as you hear me speak about Olodula Mare, He is a God that basically interacts with us here, and He is combustible fire. So we cannot interact with Him too often. We must remember that Akamare is the God of the universe that created the universe, but He gave us Ori that resides on our head. And Ori allows us to practice and be in collaboration with Him to do the things that God would do. So let's speak on the I am concept. As you notice in most scriptures in the Bible, it speaks of the concept, I am. I am prospering. I am advancing. I am creating spiritual lifelines. So I like to use that as my opening, the I am. Whenever you speak of the I am, you are speaking of cooperatively, you and God working together on one accord. My theme for my company under Montu, the definition is God and I, cooperating, working together on one accord. So the God that was placed in you, the Ori, is the only God that's going to get some action, is the only God that you will see. And the God that the world will see has to come through you. It has to come through you. There is no other God. Yes, I'm busting somebody's bubble. I'm changing somebody's concept of God. And I'm brainwashing some people too, you might say. I'm cleaning and scrubbing out the old foggy thinking and replacing that. So once you know that you're God, you will treat everybody with respect, knowing that any time that God can show up on their faces, as He does on each of our faces. Now, the I am concept is not a new one. Lisa Nichols is not teaching us anything new. As a matter of fact, we might want to go back and re-examine some of those 10 rules that she has. The one thing I take offense to her on is saying that she wanted to go out and find people that were doing it better or making more money, and she wanted to be just like them. She wanted to act like them. She wanted to talk like them and be like them. No. God makes no mistakes. He doesn't duplicate and create people that mimic each other. He creates uniqueness in all of us. And because He creates uniqueness in all of us, you don't have to covet other people's gifts. Because you can ask God to show up in your life to allow you to be a genuine gift that you are. So Lisa got it wrong in some places where she ran after money, and wherever she found it, if it was with the white folks, she hung out with them. And she even talked about her family reprimanding her from hanging out with the white folks too much. Now let me put it to you straight. God makes no mistakes. We are all geniuses in our own way. And going to a workshop 45 times does not make you a genius if God hasn't put that destiny in you. Everything we do is by destiny. Our destiny has been carved out for us at birth. Where we were supposed to be, we've already kneeled to the feet of a Ramallah and spoke our existence into being. We don't have to find those people who are more driven, who are cutthroats, who are thieves and robbers to hang around in order to get their blessing. Each one of us have a blessing that God has in store for us. But we have to understand that the I am concept means that I am abiding in God as his words abide in me. You must be abiding. You just can't use the word I am and not be abiding. I am performing the ability of a steward over the monies that you gave me to perfect the stewardship. If you are to get more ducats and get more money, you must reside on his given to be identical like or to mimic his behaviors or characteristics, because that will not allow God to discover the uniqueness within you. Every one of us have uniqueness within us. Allow God to manifest himself uniquely in you. Don't just go to another workshop. Don't just mimic another person's personality. Don't just have someone else's characteristics. You are unique. And allow yourself to be. The I am concept wants to grow up in you. And when the I am concept grows up in you, it is rooted there. And God wants to uniquely show himself through you so he can see how he is manifested through you. He wants to know experience through each of us uniquely, not because we are ditto, 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 ditto. Allow God to use our vessels to work. Yes, Lisa may be making money. And yes, she has created many books that she's published. And she could be the example for a lot of us. But some of us must understand that we are all uniquely made. And God can grow up the I am concept in us as well. And he's told us to use it. And you should put it on your business cards. I am producing a spiritual lifeline. I am prospering in everything I touch. I am manifesting abundance in all academic businesses and academic pursuits. We must understand that we all have been called here for a special reason, and we all have unique gifts that God wants to use. And as we go through our troubles and our trials and troubles come to make us stronger. And don't tell me you got in that position by hook or crook or by who you know. You had to have gone through some experiences and some hard times in order for God to show up in your life. He only comes when you press him through the hard times. He comes and shows up in each of our life through the worst time in our life. That's when he's pushed forward. So, when you know something about struggle, people tend to want to examine you and study you because they then want to know what were your struggles and what did you overcome in order to get to the place of abundance or ruling and mastering your life. Some of us don't ask the question, who was your teacher? Some of us don't ask the experience, what were some of the hard times you went through? Because there's a lot of us out here preaching and talking and haven't been through any hard times whatsoever. And they have no business in front of you giving you any philosophy unless they have some trials and some times of trouble that they've gone through. Now, I've spoken to you for many sessions and many times. You never asked, but I did tell you the struggles that I had to overcome. I did tell you the times that I had to press God through, and I wasn't ashamed of it. I was unapologetically unashamed that I wanted you to know that I was real people, so that you could understand why God is now blessing me, why God is now still in my life perfecting me. We're perfected as we are buffered and we go through. We're perfected to come out shining as pure gold. And a lot of times people think you've been through nothing, that you've always had access to things and stuff. But sometimes the tattletale signs don't show up on you very well. But if a person knows you well and they know your history and what you've been through, they will truly look back and say, look what God has brought you through. And thank God for bringing you through. Because we can't get there by ourselves. It's through cooperatively working with God on one accord. It's through making sure we spend time with God and confessing and having communion with God. Lisa didn't mention God one time in her 11 rules. She didn't mention how God and her struggle together to fight through the times when she couldn't go to sleep because of worry. She didn't mention God high up on her list. But I want to do a step better than Lisa. I want to say that God is my all in all. And every practice that I present myself in, God can be seen in my life. Therefore, I am not operating on my own. I am cooperatively working on one accord with the Most High. And as the Most High appear in my life, He helps me to develop relationship. I become rich through the relationships that He helps me to develop. And as we speak now, we're developing a relationship, and we must have the opportunity to understand that when we go on Facebook and we go on our various different social media groups such as YouTube, we go there to develop relationship, wholesome relationship, and we become rich through our relationships and our connection. But we don't get there just by saying we did it on our own, because we cannot do it on our own. We must remember everything is done in a cooperative setting. And I've been preaching and teaching about cooperative community settings of how we come together as a unified tribe. I want to say that there's been many trials and triumphs in my life that I've overcome. And I am an overcomer because I am the I am concept. And the affirmation rides in my life, through my life. And I am always calling on the I am to be present in my life in everything that I do. And that you must understand, as a motivational speaker, you must have a platform to speak from. It just cannot be from numero uno, I, and personal pronoun, I. It has to be from a communal setting. You must have a tribe behind you. Can't you see the ancestors standing behind me? I am not here alone within this position. I have ancestors who have undergirded me to pick me up and to make me strong, and to be there, that I can tap into their melanin and their prospects and their abilities, not on my own. And we must know, under this watch, ancestors must hold a high position for us Africans. We cannot give any man or woman the credit. It must be through the supernatural that we gain our connection and our respect from our ancestors who come and undergird us under every circumstance, when we don't even know how we're making it through. When we don't understand how that we get through without walking, when we find out the ancestors have been carrying us all along. We must give homage to our ancestors and to our God. And we must acknowledge Him as the I am concept. Don't just fake it like we don't know who the missing person is. We know that the I am concept is God. And Lisa must learn this for herself. She may have not taught it to the world that the I am concept is God. When Moses spoke of the I am concept, he spoke of God. He was not referring to himself. And when Jesus said, when you've seen me, you've seen the Father, he still was speaking of the I am concept. He said, don't pay homage to me, but pay homage to the I am God that's within me. And it's within all of us. We all have that capability of overcoming and getting over a situation. And when we teach these concepts, don't think that it's strange that God has chosen you. He is no respecter of person. Just like he's chosen me and chosen Mrs. Nelson, he will choose you just as well. But you must understand, this I am concept has to be an affirmation that we say each day. I am progressing. I am perfecting. I am advancing. I am developing. The I am concept is given to us as an affirmation that we can fill in the blank. Now, what words will you fill in the blank on? What are you progressing on? What are you overcoming in? But you must understand that this is given from the God we know. The I am was given to each of us, not just to Lisa Nelson, but to each of us. And we must understand that this is not a new concept, but an old ancient concept of the I am concept. But most of all, as a motivational speaker, we have to tell our story. And as you all know, that I am one of the greatest storytellers and look for an opportunity to tell you a story. But sometimes we're not always telling allegorical stories, but we're telling truths. And we're sometimes including our lives in these stories so that you can see through the humor that we take humor in what we've overcome. And I've talked to you many times about where I came from, what I'm all about, that I was once an orphan child who my sister decided to adopt. But out of that opportunity, I gained a father and a mother. So I never was motherless without a mother or father, except for those few years that I had lost my mother and father. But nevertheless, I knew enough to know that God had spared me and left me here for a reason, that I had purpose in my life, and purpose in my life, even though my mother delivered me 2 years after she was deceased. She had a mission to deliver me here. And I must have had some high calling. I must have kneeled at the feet of Oromala and said, Oromala, make sure you deliver me before my mother makes her transition. There is something great that I must do on this universe. And he acknowledged that. And he realized that I had something to do great on this earth. As a motivational speaker, I have motivated many. I took up the opportunity to take women off welfare and to give them opportunities for jobs. This was a desire I had. And so God allowed me to go over to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and take as many women off welfare as I could, and to gird them up with training in child development so that they could have their very own family child care centers. And in my effort to do this, it wasn't to gain a lots of money or notoriety. It was to help my sisters. And while I was working so hard, somebody was speaking to the government about my skills and my ability and my dedication to women. And then there came along a recruiter that thought that I could go abroad to help them with their teachers in the military who were child development providers, who thought I could help them to establish themselves and to gain more women into the profession of entrepreneurism and being a family child care. Through my efforts to work hard for those women, I then was selected to go abroad to set up a program for an existing GS women in the area of setting up more family child cares and to work with those existing family child cares to better them. Because sometimes you can be working so hard at your gifts and desires, other people can admire you and want you to be a part of their establishment. That was a blessing for me, and that was a purpose that I had laid out front. And it was such an opportunity for my family that I included my whole family so that they could benefit from this tour to Europe. But nevertheless, my background was child development working on families, to better families in their marriages, and to better families in working in the child development area. I had almost forgotten about this gift that I had and that the desire that I had for teachers to become certified. I had almost forgotten about it, but I've been rewarded several times to become an advisor for the council, and then later to become a professional development specialist for the council. Those were some grave marks that I had advanced to that I had forgotten about. I took them for granted and didn't think anything of them. But I had to remember that I was a motivator of making mothers into teachers, because I knew that parents were the first teachers. And I just got a phone call recently of a young girl who had given my name and number to and said that if you ever need me to help you to decide on which path to take for your career in child development, please call me. I didn't think twice about giving this girl my number and that she would ever call, because she was working in another completely different business. She did call, and she asked me to explain to her again about the process of becoming a certified child care home and what was the process. And her sister was involved in this profession, but in another city. And I asked her, why don't you hook up with your sister and you and your sister become partners, and she can actually branch out to this city and have a facility here, and you can run it and I can help you. Nevertheless, she said, oh no, my sister won't help me. She won't help me. I said, why not? It would be much easier. She says, oh no. I said, well, then does that mean you have to start your own process, you and your husband together? She said, yes, I'm going to have to start my own process. Now look at this woman having to reinvent the wheel when she could have been a partner of her sisters and not have to reinvent the wheel. We are not willing to help each other like we say we want to. We don't step out and do things that ordinarily people would normally do for their own race of people. But unfortunately, because I love this profession so much of helping families, I had told her I would help her and her husband to establish themselves, to get credentialed, get licensed, and to walk them through the steps of getting the licensing and as well as the CDA credential. But I said all that to say that when we have a purpose and an aim and we've been called to do something, we will do it even without pay. And we will do it even when there is no monetary gains to be had. But we have to make sure we know what our purpose is. Some people work against their deficits. And I know I'm on purpose when I'm building families and building opportunities for mothers to stay home with their children, to rear their own children. I know I'm on purpose. So I was on purpose today when I got that phone call. I was eager to remember the fact that I am pledged and obligated to help as many women who want to go into the child care profession. I pledge the honor to help them. Because working with the council means that you will market yourself internationally as well. And you will spread the word about your skills and your ability to help. So this is not just an advertisement to spread the word about my ability as having an endorsement in child development and elementary education, K through 9, also preschool, kindergarten. But it's an opportunity to say that I laid it dormant for a long time. Being in the classroom prevents you and prohibits you from becoming the entrepreneur that you can become. So one might say I'm a late bloomer. But nevertheless, I had in my loins a desire to build a family resource center that would address those families with special needs, as well as address those potential teachers who wanted to go on to either get their Montessori endorsement or their early childhood CDA endorsement. That way would serve a twofold purpose. It would serve the purpose of working with the families who had special needs children, who needed assistive technology for materials for disabled children, and at the same time, it would be a center for training and development where mothers could come and get their co-parenting license. They could come and get their child development license. They can come and get their CDA license. And they could also come and get the Montessori certificate. This will serve in a community as a co-op that will help mothers to set up their daycare centers where there is no fee involved. They will exchange time and services for service rather than funds for funds. And therefore, they can have a co-op child development within their own community. We have no community centers anymore, and we must think about how we can empower our communities to have community centers, to give our mothers a chance to run these community centers, to go in and to remediate our own children, and to bring our children to a setting of family, child care would mean that we're doing homeschool. And then we could address those homeschool problems so our children are not pushed through the cracks through the public school, or they're not put in special educational classes where they're only given a certificate upon completion and not an actual diploma. So I have a heart for these things. It is in my nature. It is in my MO that I would have an interest in these things. But nevertheless, family has always been important to me because we made family a big issue in our house. There were over 3 different families in our house that were reared together. Yes, we were a clan, and a noted clan at that. The actual mayor of the city came and dined at our house while 11 girls prepared meals for him and his political parties. And yes, we spent many a days serving the political parties and working on the polls with them. So we weren't just your average family with 18 children. We were actively engaged in the community. And that means engaged as entrepreneurs in the community, being one of the first entrepreneur groups of women to work for themselves as cleaning women and also working for teachers and bachelors. So we learned from the ground up how to become good entrepreneurs at the age of 14 years old. So what I'm saying is that family was everything to us. And we learned about family values and how to impart these family values into other family members in our community. Because what we knew best was how to raise families and how to make mothers prospectively responsible for their duties as a mother. And that was the first thing I was taught, was motherhood and how to become a wife. And it's very vital that we start teaching these concepts to young girls because they have not a clue as to what will help them become a great catch for a wife. They have no idea of what to put on their medicine cabinets and in their pharmaceutical kitchens so that they will show and demonstrate that they have the capability of managing the household. So what I'm saying here today is the I am concept is an affirmation. And it can be used by anyone, and God will honor it. Whatever it is you say that I am doing, God will fill in the rest and honor it because you call God for to do the 70% that you won't be doing. And you only have to do the 30%. So when you're using the I am concept, you know God's going to show up to do his 70%. Sometimes he has to do the 100%. And then you'll wonder, how was you getting across and getting through? Because God was carrying you doing the 100%. The I am concept is a great affirmation that we must all use and put into our speech on a day-to-day basis. Lisa had one thing right. She called on the Lord when things were bad. She called on the Lord to fill in for her when she couldn't walk anymore. She called on the Lord to come and pick her up when she wasn't capable of carrying herself. The I am concept showed up for her, and he pressed his way there because it was a time of trouble. He only shows up when we're in trouble. He, she, or it only vibrates in our life when we are pushing against the prick. So start pushing against the prick and calling the I am concept to show up in your life. Because the I am concept is truly the Godhead concept that's already within you. You got to stir up that Godhead concept that's in you. He gave you a measure of himself. When he gave you the breath of life, he, she, or it placed himself within your beings. So when times of trouble come, you could press the I am concept forward and you could give God the credit for his share and not take the full credit as an individual. You are a spirit being. And only way God can live and reside in you, he has to be, or she has to be, or it has to be a spirit. So let's not get it twisted. It doesn't matter how many workshops you go to. It doesn't matter how many great rich white men you meet. It doesn't matter how many Oprahs you meet on the podium talking. You have got to have an interaction with God. You have got to have an encounter with God. You have got to have a relationship with God. And you must call that God you. Because you need to introduce yourself to you. You don't really know who you are. Do you know that you are the I am God concept? Then look in the mirror. Take a look in the mirror and see yourself. Can't you see that God is bursting with light all over you? The God lives within you. There is no other God coming down out of the sky. You can't manifest another God if you wanted to. He is in you. And every person you meet, you show them respect because you know that the Godhead resides within them. You never know when you're going to meet the Godhead who people have stirred up in their being and that they are walking with God. Some of the gods are laying dormant because they have not followed the precept or the principle of the I am concept. They have not utilized that concept and know that at any time they can press the I am concept forward. I am manifesting because I am the I am. I am progressing because I am the I am. I am advancing because I am the I am. I am everything that God could be. And I was told that greater things that I would do than Jesus. Now, where are the greater things? Because I should be walking with signs and wonders. My fruit should be signs and wonders. And I should be walking with gifts all over me. As an outstanding editor and an outstanding orator, there should be signs and wonders wherever I walk. Gold mines, I should act like I have gold mines at my feet. Just as we hear from the great poet when she speaks about who she is. The manifestation of God is all over her. And when Maya Angelou says, because I act like I have gold mines growing at my feet, yes, she is practicing the I am concept. Then why don't you practice the I am concept? It's within you and you and you and you and you. You all have the I am concept. God is no respecter of person. What he's done for me and Mrs. Nelson, he'll do for you. He has not avoided any of you. He gave each of you the breath of life as Oromala molded you and sculptured you. He allowed Oromala to create your skeleton system and your body parts. But then he stepped in and said, now let me give the breath of life. So we have his essence, you say. He said, let us make man and woman in our own image. I put the woman in there because everyone wants to leave her out. God may have been a woman talking to a man, or he may have been a woman talking to another woman about making creation and giving the breath of life. Some of you didn't know that. You thought God created you. You didn't realize that his right-hand man, Oromala, was the one that created you. But God said, let me give thee breath of life and let me bring my daughter in, Amy, and she will give the pulse of the beating of the heart. And so when life is taken away from you, he snatches Amy out of you. And then you're gone physically. But mentally and spiritually, you're still a being. So why am I talking to you about the I am God? Because I'm so sick of people getting on television making $1 saying that the white folks got them there because they followed all their workshops and they mimicked all their belief system, and they came to the point where they wanted to become white, and they made a white man into God. We cannot keep making the white man into God. We must give the prompts to the God that lives within inside of you. You cannot give the pleasure and respect to someone that holds all the purse string and who are financially endowed. You cannot keep saying it's because I follow these groups of white people to their workshop that I became so great, because we then lose who we are and we give up our own gifts and cultures and take on the manifestation of someone who is not of our race. And we cannot give all the credit like that anymore. And to Lisa, I hope you're listening. You must identify with your Godhead and lead people to God and to Christ, but not to man. Man only creates temporal things that are natural, but the Spirit is eternal. Lead them to God, who is the Spirit, who will be eternal. And then we will find ourselves manifesting and doing the great things that God can do. But we certainly cannot say I was down and I was out and the white man came and picked me up and he showed me how to get money like him and how to get on TV, how to write books. He showed me, and then I began to do better, and then now I only hang with people that have money, and I don't hang around those who are lower socioeconomic people, and I don't even hang around my own people, and I get from behind them and I don't even want to be with them. No. God will send you to their community to be a blessing just as well. If he's going to bless you, he's going to bless you right where you are. You don't have to get with the white folks to make it. You don't have to be a white folk to make it, because God is no respecter of person. He didn't bless the white man because he was white, and he didn't curse you because you were a Negro. You must understand that. We must get that thought out of our mind, because we start perpetuated impartiality and racism, judging our own people because they're lower socioeconomic, and giving credit and paying homage to those who have been robbers and thieves and men of union of thieves, and who have oftentimes stockpiled other people's things. Those things are ours anyway, that were sitting up for us, and somebody got to them before we did. And somebody perpetuated them because we were too humble and bowed down to them and treated them like a god. We must not make the white man into a god, Lisa. We must not tell the world that we must follow every dot and tittle that they're doing, because some things they're doing are illegal that we might even not know about. But we must pay homage to our God and give God credit for the I am concept. And let the I am concept ride on each one of your tongue, because it is God and it is not man. And know this today. Thank you so very much for listening to Maddie Harvey's baby sister. You've been tuning in to Omi's Montu Production Studio. Thank you so much, and do go and listen to our Oracle Divination Network through Blog Talk. There are many audios that you can listen to there, and I will talk with you soon. Oh, double and baba booey to you, brothers and sisters. Peace.